Hi, welcome everyone to another episode of Let's Talk Special Economic Zones. I'm your host, Ainsley Brown, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about zone to zone cooperation. Why is it important, and what does that look like? Now, special economic zones, whatever you want to call them, special economic zones, free zones, foreign trade zones, industrial parks, all the same thing. It is basically a geographic area in a country that's been designated as such by the government, and different rules, particularly around customs, apply to that area, and other types of fiscal and non-fiscal incentives are offered by the government to attract and sustain and maintain investors, whether local or foreign, in that geographic area. Right? It's all the same. Now, zone to zone cooperation, you could put them in two different categories, basically. The first one being in the same country, where one zone and another zone, they're cooperating and sharing. They could be sharing market intelligence. They could be sharing just general information. They could be sharing customs. They could be sharing intelligence around um, to counteract criminal types of behavior, anti-money laundering, etc. So as you can see about those subjects I just named, those are fairly important subjects. So you can see how zones can cooperate together to counter that. And particularly, it's important within a country's context because it speaks to the reputation of the country as a secure and safe investor destination. So that's important when you have within the same country different zones cooperating, sharing information, and also not just information, but also they can act as you know ecosystems for each other, where inputs from one that one zone produces become, or outputs, I should say, become inputs for another zone. So those sorts of things, and it can even be, to use the circular economy type concept, could be waste from one zone becoming an input into another zone. So, for example, you may have a zone that processes, different types of foods. Like say they do chickpeas, they can chickpeas, or they process cassava or something, and then that can become an input into another zone who has a brewery, and that becomes some raw materials to brew beer, right? So you have that sort of cross fertilization that can happen within the same country. That also can happen internationally as well, right? Now, internationally, you can then look at it from two other perspectives. One, the firm to firm, and then the zone authority to zone authority. So zones typically are governed by some sort of authority. Sometimes the zone itself, the zone developer, and the authority are one and the same. Other times, there's that separation where the zone authority is strictly a regulator, and then the developer is typically a private entity, or sets of private entities that come in and develop and offer their zones up to occupants who wish to come and do commercial activity. So zone to zone, from firm to firm, can happen just like within the same country. Exchange of information, market intelligence around matters dealing with money laundering, and so forth. But also you can have even customs authority working together. But then that's a government to government type of thing, to counter those very things, or even to facilitate trade between the two, because there is the world, it's just slipping me right now, the World Customs Organization. They have a author AEO program, Authorized Economic Operator program, and that can work within zones as well, where and as part of that program, you countries conclude additional, while as being part of that AEO program overall, they and operate it within their country, they can also have it going internationally between each other. So they would have set up certain mechanisms where this company that's AEO in country A is also AEO in country B, and they can seamlessly operate and internationally, and customs between the two countries facilitates that seamless trade. That's just, examples of zone to zone cooperation. But get into the authorities, they can as well work together in terms of market intelligence, doing joint promotions, doing trade missions between each other, or even combining together and going to a third country on a trade mission. That's certainly possible. So the possibilities are endless. It doesn't have to be strictly on the regulatory side, which is very important, but it can also be on the commercial side in terms of attracting investment, or you could do what's called co-petition, where you're competing, but you're also cooperating together, right? So that level of cooperation can happen. So it's very, and these days, particularly with trade agreements and the geopolitical tensions that are there, these are the types of agreements or arrangements that can help to facilitate investments and trade. And they can come in a variety of forms. It can be a formal treaty, right? It can be the AEO program from the World Customs Organization being part of that zone to zone, or it can be an MOU, a non-binding MOU, where both parties enter together and in a spirit of goodwill, and work together for mutual benefit and cooperation. So there's different ways to do zone to zone cooperation. So if you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to see me do a particular topic, just leave me a comment down below, and I'll get right back to you. Bye for now.